Hello, this is Terry at junctionfabric.com bringing you our block number 11 called Pinwheel Square. This one has a couple of different things that we haven't done in our other blocks and a few that we have. But let's take a look at the block in our quilt. Isn't that a beautiful, fun block? This is kind of one of those that might scare you when you first look at it. But part of the reason we do samplers is to get exposed to blocks that scare us without committing to make a bunch of them. And then you can decide, do you like the block or don't you like the block? So as in the past, I have gotten some of the parts put together, and then today I'll show you how I did those. As we lay out, you can see here is a section. And to start, I'm going to make this as a full triangle and this section as a triangle. So to do that, kind of backwards here, but I'll just keep it lined up. And I tend to try to do a lot of pieces before I stop sewing and go to press. Okay, use my handy ripper there. That piece is ready to press. This one here, you can press it or you can give it just kind of a little finger press to put on the other side. And I'm matching up my 45. It's easier to add the triangle to the square when you line up the 45 corner. And so now I'm ready to press both my pieces. Okay, I cut off the dog ear, and then this one has just a little one. Now we need to match these up, and to do that, if you would take your ruler and do a 1/4 inch seam. My 1/4 inch is matched up on the exact. I shift it just a little so I can see my fabric just on the edge of the black line, and I just draw a little line, and that's because I know my pencil is going to make a little line or create a little bit of distance there. So with that, let's slip a pin right into that intersection, and then we're going to go right into the seam allowance right where I marked with a pencil, because we're going to sew over it. And like I said, if it doesn't line up perfect as far as your two edges, that's okay. The important part is that you cross this intersection and this side is a 1/4 inch down. Most of the time, yes, we do like those to match up exact, but sometimes they just don't. And it looks like I got one pressed at a wrong angle here. I'd rather that was going the other way. So I'm going to do that right now to get him back up out of the road. Okay, then I line up. Got to get rid of that pin. So then I line up my angles. I try not to pull them because those are all bias angles. Find that little intersection. And now I'm going to line up my other side. And we press this little guy. Because our goal is, even if, and you can see on mine it doesn't line up absolutely perfect there, but our goal is on this side to have those match up. That's our goal. Get rid of my dog ears. One of the things I forgot to mention on this one, because we do a lot of squares and then recut. So I need to let you know that on pattern, when we have it laid out like this, the line through here tells you to go ahead and cut that square, so that the technique we're using requires that square to be cut into a triangle. So this time we're working with triangles, but they're not the kind we're used to working with. When you do cut these as a square, make sure you cut that all of your colors are laying the same direction. Don't cut one from the wrong side and one from the right side. You can actually cut them all at the same time if you want. Make sure they're all stacked so you're looking at the color. So you want to be looking at the right side, and that you cut them from the correct angle. So you want to make sure from your perspective, and as you can see on this one, all four of these are identical. So you want to make sure that you have, well, I'll switch this way. So it looks like this is what you have that you would be looking at before you cut it. You want to make sure that you have the wide at the top and the skinny at the bottom. So then lay it point to point and cut. And then every one of your squares will be the same. And then do it the same way with the white. If you cut it this way, it's not necessarily wrong, but you'll be looking at this. Your purple will be going the other direction. And like I said, that's not necessarily wrong, but it's not the way this particular one is laid out. So if you do it backwards, maybe you want to go ahead and put it in your quilt that way, that's okay. Maybe you want to recut and change it. That is up to you. But this one here, there is a distinct cut when you're cutting these rectangles. So you'll want them to fit together like this. Well, it's kind of hard to sew that and line up. You're going to be off. Because if we just lined up that little point there and sewed, and imagine there's our seam, you end up with kind of a funky look. So what I do is, on one, I draw my seam allowance. And again, I line up so that my 1/4 inch is just off the edge of the fabric, and I can see that it's off the edge of the fabric. I draw my line, start in the middle, so sometimes I just go straight, sometimes, as you can see, I just slowly go down. I get my line, so I know that's where I'm going to sew. So when I go to put these together, I can take this little spot where my pencil mark is, and I can line it up with the edge of the purple right here, because that's where my seam allowance is. So that means I'm a 1/4 inch down, which also means I'm going to have a tail on this end also, that when I line this up, because this is where I want to start sewing, and I want to be just on the very bit of the purple. So that is where I'm going to sew, so that I'm just barely starting on the purple, and I've got my line drawn on the light to sew my 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you get to the other side, you should actually run out of purple at about the same time as you run out of your white. Sometimes one will stretch just a hair more than the other, so that they're not always exact, but at least you want to be as close as you can get. And again, we're going to cut off our dog ears, because We have them when we work with angles like that. Get rid of the dog ears. Place it in our design the way it goes. And now we have all of our parts and we're ready to finish our block. So again, okay, make sure that we have everything. Do I have my blues to the right side of, do I have all my parts laid right? I've got a kind of a shooting star effect there, and now we're going to flip and line up. So we start at the top, line up our piece. Another thing, a lot of times when we line up two sections like that, one goes to the other, and we'll have them folded, and we can feel that the two are going to be snuggled. Well, we're at different angles on this particular one, so those two are not going to line up. I've got this one clear over here, and I have this one seam going clear over here. So don't get excited and go, oh, wait a minute. The two seams are not going to line up, so you want to make sure you're just lined up on that corner. And I always notice it because I line up so many things by touch. But the first thing I notice is, oh, those aren't lined up. And then I have to remind myself those are different angles. They're not going to line up. We get our one row in, open up, let's double check. It looks like I'm still on the right path, and now I'm ready to attach the other row. Just get my corners lined up. Okay, I have all my sections ready. Open it up one last time. It's looking good. So now let's do our other seam. Match up my seam allowance sections. Get those to line up right. One more side. And there we have another beautiful block for our sampler. It just needs pressed again, and they're pinwheel square. Thank you for watching.